our Majlis members are ready to take you through the remarkable life of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. This story will highlight his teachings, journey, and the important lessons from his life. During the course of the session, there will be a quiz on the story. We kindly request the audience to participate.
A very pleasant evening to you all. I would like to begin by extending a greeting in Islamic tradition. Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be upon you. 1400 years ago, in the vast plains of Arabia, there were no boundaries, no nations as we know them today, only the scorching sun and the endless desert. The people of Arabia were a lawless society, only bound by the rules of their tribes. Tribal warfare was rampant, and blood was needlessly shed without measure. With time, these nomadic tribes settled down around springs, wells, and oases, establishing towns which grew into cities. In these cities, there was a hierarchy based on influence, family lineage, and wealth, with some tribes dominating over others. One such city, dominated by the Quraysh tribe, was Makkah.
That's right. Historically speaking, Makkah was already a very important house of Kaaba, which had been built by the Prophet many a year ago, and it stood as a center in the pilgrimage. Over the years, however, his idea of a one-God worship disintegrated. And over time, as the story goes, 300 deities in and around the area.
300 deities existed in and around the area at the time of our story. Let's talk more about the Quraysh tribe. The leader of the Quraysh was Abdul Muttalib, and he had 10 sons. Out of all his sons, however, his favorite and most beloved was Abdullah, his youngest son. Abdullah was married to Amina. When Amina was pregnant and Abdullah was coming back from a trade journey, he unfortunately fell sick and passed away in the city of Yathrib.
Amina was devastated by the news, and her one consolation was her then unborn child. When the child was born, she immediately sent someone to inform his grandfather, Abdul Muttalib. His grandfather, Abdul Muttalib, carried the baby to the Kaaba, prayed to God, and thanked him. Abdul Muttalib decided to name the child Mohamed, which translates to the praised one, which was then an uncommon name among the Arabs.
Historically speaking, it was very common practice for Arabs living in urban communities to send their children to be raised out in the deserts with the Bedouin. Accordingly, Muhammad, peace be upon him, was sent out to live with the Bedouin, in particular under the care of Halima, a wet nurse. He was there until the age of 4 to 5. Thereafter, he was given back to his mother, Amina.
At the age of 6, Muhammad, peace be upon him, undertook a journey with his mother, Amina, to visit his father's grave in Yathrib. On the way back, unfortunately, Amina fell seriously ill, and in between Makkah and Medina, she passed away. So, by the age of 6, Muhammad, peace be upon him, was an orphan.
He may have been an orphan, but Abdul Muttalib never made him feel that way. He took the child under his arms, loved him, and cherished him.
Sadly, at the age of 8, Muhammad, peace be upon him, lost his grandfather, Abdul Muttalib, as well. And he was taken under the care of his uncle, Abu Talib, who treated him with kindness, treated him like his own child, placed him among his own child, and protected and supported him for the next 40 years.
And so, this boy, Muhammad, peace be upon him, grew up to be a handsome young man in Makkah. Even as a young man, he had great character, not giving in to any evil practices that were common among the youth at the time. He was widely known among many by the titles Aalameen, the trustworthy, and Sadiq, the truthful. Muhammad, peace be upon him, did not inherit a lot of wealth. Instead, he had to work hard from a young age to earn his livelihood. As a youth, he worked as a shepherd, a humble occupation, he later said, that taught him patience, responsibility, and leadership. Later, he did business, entering the caravan trade, traveling between Makkah and Syria.
Yes, but unlike all his other competitors, he never lied, he never cheated, and he never broke a single promise. He was always fair and honest in all his dealings. This earned him a reputation as a trustworthy businessman. As the word spread, impressed by his honesty and ability in business, he was approached by a lady of the Quraysh by the name of Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her, to conduct a business journey on her behalf. This journey produced exceptional profits. However, beyond the profits, Khadija was more impressed by Muhammad's, peace be upon him, honesty, trustworthiness, character, and personality. Khadija, being a widow at the time, consulted her cousin, who was a knowledgeable Christian monk by the name of Waraka bin Naufal. And 2 months later, she sent him a marriage proposal to which he accepted after consulting his uncle Abu Talib. Muhammad, peace be upon him, was 25 years old at the time, and they had a happy and blessed marriage. And Khadija gave birth to 4 daughters and 2 sons.
It was during the early years of this marriage to Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her, that we see another beautiful example of the profound loyalty that Muhammad, peace be upon him, inspired, even among the most vulnerable in the society. Zayd, a boy from a powerful Syrian tribe, was captured during a raid and sold into slavery, eventually going on to live with Muhammad, peace be upon him, arranged by Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her, as a wedding gift. Years later, Zayd's father and uncle were able to track him back to Makkah, where he was living with Muhammad, peace be upon him. So, Muhammad, peace be upon him, gave Zayd a choice. Either return home with his family for free, or stay back in Makkah with him. Let me ask you, what would you have done? It's obvious, right? No, but not for Zayd. He refused to leave. He declared that he had seen such character in Muhammad, peace be upon him, that he would never choose anyone else above him, not even his own family or his own freedom. Moved by this devotion, Muhammad, peace be upon him, took Zayd to the Kaaba and publicly announced, "This Zayd is my son, and from now on he'll be known as Zayd bin Muhammad, Zayd the son of Muhammad."
This extraordinary choice of Zayd reminds us that loyalty is not earned through power and authority. Instead, it is earned through deep kindness and respect. Let's fast forward 10 years to when Muhammad, peace be upon him, is now 35 years old. This was when the Quraysh started to rebuild the Kaaba. And as mentioned earlier, the Kaaba is the primary reason for Makkah to be the central point for trade and commerce, as pilgrims from all over Arabia used to visit this temple. The Kaaba was originally built by Prophet Adam and later reconstructed by Prophet Ibrahim and renovated multiple times over the years as it got degraded. In the Kaaba is a sacred stone known as the Aswad, which was brought down from the heaven when Prophet Ibrahim was rebuilding the Kaaba.
So, during one of these reconstructions, when the time came to place this sacred black stone, the Aswad, in its place, a dispute arose among the many tribal chiefs in Makkah as to who should get the honor of placing it in its place. This grew to such an extent that they were about to go to war with each other. Alas, they came to a truce, deciding that the first person to enter the Kaaba the next morning would mediate the decision and come up with a solution. Then it was the will of God that Muhammad, peace be upon him, was the first person to enter the Kaaba the next morning. When the people saw him coming, they acclaimed in one voice, "Aalameen has come. We will happily abide by his decision." As I mentioned before, Aalameen means the trustworthy. And remember, this is even before Muhammad, peace be upon him, attained prophethood. Such was the trust and position that Muhammad, peace be upon him, held among his community, was held by his community.
We left off where Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was 35 years old and 10 years after his marriage to his wife Khadija. So around this age, Muhammad, peace be upon him, had a notable habit of withdrawing from the society, away from the busy life of Makkah, to a cave in the outskirts of the city. There he spent long hours alone, thinking, praying and reflecting about the state of the society and the purpose of life. He was particularly disturbed by the oppression of the weak, tribal conflicts at that time, and also the ignorant behavior of his own people.
And on one such night, while he was in the meditation in the cave of Hira, the truth descended upon him. It was a terrifying incident when the archangel Jibreel, also known as Gabriel, descended from the heavens and commanded the Muhammad, peace be upon him, to recite. He recited the first 5 verses of the Holy Quran. Iqra, bismi rabbika allazi khalaq. Read the name of the God who have created all existing things. Now Muhammad, he did not know what was going on. It was a very terrifying incident. He didn't know what was this terrifying figure in front of him. What do you think he did? He fled back home, trembling in fear. And he went back to his beloved wife, Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her, and said, "Ya Khadija, zammiluni, zammiluni," which means, cover me in English. So his wife, he embraced her and then talked and consoled him, and then he came to a standstill position, and then he said, "Ya Khadija, what was the thing that happened?" "I don't know." And then started narrating the entire incident which happened. And then he said, "Do you think I'm being punished? Am I being at fault for something?" Then what did his wife say? Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her, she said, "Oh Muhammad, you do not worry, because you have never done any wrong, and you only have glad tidings. For by God will never let someone down such as you, who have always served their kin, and always served the destitute and poor and the people who are affected in the calamities. By God will never let you down, so fret not. Be brave. There's no such thing bad that can happen to you." This was actually a very good example, a beautiful example, which showed the character of the Prophet, which reflected that God would not punish him regardless of anything, as said by his beloved wife.
His wife Khadija then took him to her cousin, Warqa bin Nawfal, the same cousin she had asked advice from before marrying Muhammad, peace be upon him. He told him what happened. She told him what happened. And Waraqah bin Nawfal, with his knowledge, confirmed that it was the Archangel Jibreel, also known as Gabriel, that had visited him, and that Muhammad, peace be upon him, has been chosen as a prophet to bear the message of God. Waraqah bin Nawfal also said, "You will be called a liar, and you will be chased out by your people." And Muhammad asked, "But will they drive me out?" And Waraqah bin Nawfal replied saying, "No one has brought something like what you have brought without being met with hostility." From this point onwards, the chosen Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, began receiving revelations of a few lines at a time. After a few more revelations through the Archangel Jibreel, Muhammad, peace be upon him, received the first command in Islam. Do not oppress the orphans, do not repel the beggars, and praise your Lord. And thereafter, for the next 23 years, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, received revelations that now make up the Holy Quran.
And so, he used to teach these revelations only to his close friends and family members. He brought them the message of God, goodness, and to resist evil, and they gladly accepted it. But for 3 years he used to preach in private to his friends and relatives. But one day, God commanded him to proclaim the message in public. So you might wonder how he did it, and this is how he took the message to the people of Makkah. So one day, he climbed up the mountain of Safa and looked down and called upon the people of Makkah. Many people actually gathered around the mountain, and then they looked up above to Muhammad. And the Muhammad, peace be upon him, he said to them, "O people of Makkah, if I told you that there are groups of horsemen coming to raid you from the valley, would you believe me?" And the people of Makkah, they said, "Why, yes, O Muhammad, we would believe you, for you never lie." He said that, and then he gave the message to them. But unfortunately, the people of Makkah rejected it and cursed him for it. So this is when the Prophet, peace be upon him, he started proclaiming his message publicly and preaching to his followers. And he got many folds and people gathering just for his sermons. But still, the chiefs of Makkah used to be abusive towards him and mistreated him. And the people in power, they used to ridicule him and shun him and his followers. This went on for quite some time, but they would never harm him publicly, because he was still under the guardianship of his uncle, Abu Talib. So if they were to publicly harm him in any way, then a huge tribal war could break out.
But even then, even the strongest enemies of the Prophet never questioned his character. They used to say, "We never say that Muhammad is preaching a lie, as he was never known to ever speak a lie. We just don't agree with his message." And they continued to trust him so much to the point where they left their valuables and jewelries with him for safekeeping whenever they left the city for some journey. Such was the character of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
And now, 10 years had passed. The Prophet, peace be upon him, is now 50 years of age. And this is when his beloved uncle, Abu Talib, he fell ill and he passed away. His uncle had been a huge protector and a big part of his life, and his death affected him greatly. But that's not where it ends. Within a short time, his beloved wife, Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her, she also passes away within a very short period of time, just a span of few months. So Khadija had been a huge pillar in Muhammad's, peace be upon his life. He used to be praising her and appreciating her even after her death. Such was the love for her, even after everything's considered, because she used to be a part of it, a pillar of it, for 25 years through all trials and toils of life. He used to honor her by speaking about her and respect her, and used to send gifts to her friends and families even after her death. That's how much his love for his wife was apparent.
These two painful events took place in a short lapse of time, adding a lot to his grief and suffering, leading it to be called the year of grief and mourning. 2 or 3 years later, when Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was 52 years old, due to the persistent oppression of the Prophet and his followers by the people of Makkah, they had to leave their homes, families, properties, livelihoods, and migrate away. In contrast, in the nearby city of Yathrib, many people willingly accepted his message and warmly welcomed the Prophet. And so they migrated there. Upon the Prophet's and his followers' migration to Yathrib, it was named as Madinatul Nabi, literally meaning the city of the Prophet, now commonly known as Medina.
And so, the migration to Medina marked an important milestone in the journey of the Prophet, may peace be upon him, and the spread of Islam. But that is a story for another day. When talking about this man named Muhammad, may peace be upon him, he was much loved and respected among his companions, his friends and family. In fact, they documented every inch and every minute of his life. When describing him, they say that his manners were the best among his companions. His speech was distinct and clear, free of any falsehood or lies. Whenever he spoke, the people around him competed with each other to listen to him. And whenever he issued a command, they competed with each other to carry out the command.
The Prophet, peace be upon him, was an extremely humble person without an ounce of arrogance or pride inside of him. Just because he carried the message of God, he never expected additional respect, additional praise, additional attention, or even a separate seating amongst his people. An interesting incident took place during the Hudaybiyah agreement, where a companion of the Quraysh came over to negotiate with the Prophet and his companions. Following this, he famously mentioned, "I have seen the kings such as Caesar and Khosrows in all of their pomp, their wealth, their vanity, controlling people out of fear, protocol, but never have I seen anyone as beloved and respected as the Prophet, peace be upon him." On another occasion, the Prophet, peace be upon him, has also said that the strongest amongst you is not the one that is physically strong, but rather the one who holds back his anger. He was also an extremely generous and caring person, but not just that, he even encouraged his followers to do the same. For example, his saying that goes, "Myself and the one who takes care of an orphan will be close together like these two fingers on the day of the judgment."
In fact, his wife, Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, used to mention that the Prophet, peace be upon him, was just like any other ordinary man. He used to help around with the household chores. He used to mend his own shoes. He used to sew his own clothes, and he used to even milk the sheep. There is another incident where the Prophet, peace be upon him, was traveling with a few of his companions, and they stopped to have a meal and decided to slaughter a sheep. So one of the companions volunteered that he will slaughter the sheep, and the second companion volunteered that he would skin the sheep, and the third companion volunteered that he would cook the sheep. To which the Prophet, may Allah be pleased with him, replied that he would collect firewood to cook the sheep. His companion said, "O Prophet of Allah, you do not have to do it, we will do it for you." The Prophet, peace be upon him, replied, "I know that you can do it for me, but I hate to see that one slave of God to be more privileged than the other slaves of God, so I can do it myself." And he collected the firewood for the meal.
Just because he had a greater mission, he did not lose sight of the little things in life like love and care towards children. A companion once saw the Prophet kissing his grandchild and he was surprised. He said with pride that he had 10 sons and never has he kissed any of them. The Prophet didn't agree along with him. He actually went on to say that if mercy had been removed from his heart, there was nothing he could do to put it back, thereby condemning his reason for pride. On another occasion, Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, asked the Prophet, peace be upon him, about the hardest day in his life. And he said that it was the day he visited the city of Taif. The people there cursed at him, threw stones at him, until he bled to his feet. Exhausted, the Prophet, peace be upon him, went into a garden and prayed to God. O God, I complain to you of my weakness, my lack of resources, and my humiliation before my people. Down came the angel Jibril and the angel of mountains, who offered to crush the people who cursed him between the two mountains. Now what did the Prophet say? Yeah, he turned them down, but not only did he turn them down, he went on to pray for them, praying that they become people who receive God's guidance. Another very famous story of the Prophet's mercy. There was a particular lady who would throw garbage at the Prophet, peace be upon him, each time he passed by her house. Now this continued until a certain time when she was nowhere to be seen, and on inquiry it was found that she was not well. The Prophet ended up visiting her, and down the line, this was the reason of why she entered the folds of Islam. These are very few examples of why he ended up being called rightfully Rahmathul Aalameen, a mercy to the worlds.
8 years after the migration from Makkah to Medina, the Prophet and his followers in Medina had an agreement with the Quraysh in Makkah. But the Quraysh in Makkah violated that agreement. So the Prophet and his followers gathered an army to march towards Makkah. And this was not just any army, it was a huge army. And the Quraysh were afraid because now the very people that they had chased from their own homes, that they had abused, insulted, tortured, and oppressed for all these times, were now coming back to reclaim their right. And in their fear, they surrendered. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, and his followers reached Makkah and captured it unopposed. But now the Quraysh were still afraid, because now they were at the mercy of a man whom they had oppressed all this time, and they did not know what their fate would be. And in their fear, with all their fear as they waited, the Prophet, peace be upon him, walked into Makkah, walked up to the Kaaba, looked at the people of Quraysh, and he told to them, today I say to you what Joseph said to his brothers. Today there is no blame upon you, but today you are free to go, and we forgive you. Such was the mercy that the Prophet, peace be upon him, showed even to those who were opposing him and even to those who oppressed him. This was the man named Mohammed, peace be upon him, that every Muslim, man, woman and child, strive to emulate in their daily lives. The compassion, the kindness, the mercy, and the caring nature that he portrayed is what every one of us strive to emulate. And such was the character of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Jazakumullah khair.
رجوتك عفوا ولا لي سوى ودمع يسيل على مصحف به يصل الله صوف من أتى فتلك سجاة